So if you took out all AI infrastructure investment into the stock market this year, the stock market would be in a recession.
Yeah.
When I sent that 350 emails on the first day, I spent 6 months sending emails that never got delivered. And I just never knew. And dude, I was just so determined. Like, you know how it is? Like, you when you're like younger too, you buy a coaching program and you're like, I'm going to do everything you can tell.
That hurts.
Cole Gordon, the sales strategist and founder of Closers.io.
Renowned for scaling his company from $0 to $30 million a year in just 26 months.
And now helping high-ticket entrepreneurs build elite sales teams, recruit top closers, and dominate their market.
And I had that mindset of like, I'm just going to figure this out or die trying.
Yeah.
So I really plan on how to actually get to 100 mil is by getting 250, 300 of mid-market type plus RPO.
How are you going to get those?
Well, honestly, I think we could do it through ads.
Really? You think those companies will click on it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, but here's my thing, and you'll resonate with this.
Yeah.
If I can solve a lead generation problem with ads, like I'm sure I could figure it out.
Basically with Closers, it sounds like the goal is like to continue to build it and sell it. It sounds like you're trying to go for the 100 mil and then sell it. Cole, you've spoken about an $8,000 investment that failed, but then led to basically $100 million in revenue. So what changed inside you after that failure, and what was that failure?
What was it? Yeah, so when I started, so my first ever investment was in the Sam Ovens program. And when I did that, I was actually, like, I don't even know if you know this, but like my first online thing I was trying to do, this was when I was bartending right after college, was a health blog. And so like I was writing these blogs, and I mean, I was like putting in the actual peer reviewed research. I mean, I was writing like thesis papers on this website. So I got to like 2 of them, and then nobody was there, like no traffic. So I was like, these are really good. I was even showing them to people at the gym, and they were like, oh yeah, these are good. And then no traffic. So I was like, okay, well, so I got to do something about this. So then I saw a Sam Evans ad, which had nothing to do with getting traffic to blogs. It was just like, he looked rich. So I just was like, okay, I'm just watch the webinar. And like, it was the first time I've ever watched a webinar. So as you know, like the first direct response webinar experience, I just bought it. I had no idea why I even bought it. I just was like, I got to buy this. So I get into that. And through that, like I was so weak in my mindset, and so like, you're just like starting off, so you don't know what the hell's going on. You're like insecure.
Yeah.
And essentially I was like, okay, I might do this health thing. And then like everybody in there was doing Facebook ads agencies, and I was like, I'm gonna do a Facebook ads agency. So like offer switched real quick just to like the red ocean of what everybody else was doing. And then through that, I'll get to the $8,000 investment in a second, but I basically was like, okay, I'm going to land some clients with cold email for my agency. Right. So funny story, like I was so jazzed, I was so pumped to land some clients with cold email. The first day I pulled an all-nighter and sent out like 350 emails, all custom, like all like I found like 350 might not sound like a lot, but first of all, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like going to Google and all these cities and like looking at the first page of Google. Then I was like using some software to figure out what their email was and then figure out who the owner was. And then I was custom writing every single one. Like there was some framework to it, but it was like very custom. So I did that, and I got a lot of responses the first day. So I was like, okay, like I can maybe figure this out. Then like I grinded emails like 50 a day for 6 months. And got like 2 sales calls out of it. But I was so like determined to work the system that I was like, I'm going to like grind this out. So now what's funny is I now know what actually happened. And I actually figured this out 5 years later, is that when I sent that 350 emails on the first day, it was on a brand new email domain, and I blacklisted the email. So I spent 6 months, because I was trying to follow the program to a T. I spent 6 months sending emails that never got delivered. And I just never knew. And dude, I was just so determined. Like, you know how it is? Like you when you're like younger too, you like buy a coaching program and you're like, I'm going to do everything you can tell.
10X, yeah.
So I was just following it to a T.
How did you not know? Doesn't it tell you something? Or
dude, I was like 23. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything.
That hurts like to you.
But the nice thing was I didn't find out till like 5 years later. Like I didn't even think about it till I started doing cold email for my own business. And I was like, oh yeah, I blacklisted that email. And it was still the email I use today. So I think it eventually got unblacklisted or something, but Yeah, it's pretty wild. So anyways, I couldn't get any clients with this ad agency. And then I found this program and it just like popped up on my feed and it was like, do you want to get clients with your Facebook ads agency? Cause like the thing I had figured out I thought I had figured out in my brain is I was like, okay, like Sam's program was really good, but it's like very general. I was like, I need somebody to tell me like, do this for an ads agency. So I found this program and she was like in her mid 30s, divorced, have kids. So I get into this program. I spend like my life savings on it. And I'm like this 23-year-old dude in this mastermind and it's all women. Like, you know, because you attract like who you are, right? So it's all women, mid 30s with agencies, like divorced or married, kids. And I'm like in there like, you know, hey guys. Like I had no idea. I didn't even know how to like set up the ads manager. Like I didn't know anything. So I get in there and everybody probably thinks I'm like a complete like idiot. Like how did this guy even get in here? Like what is he even doing? And so, but I followed that program, launched the ads, and started taking out a bunch of clients. And I honestly just did it through like brute force. Like I would take like 12 calls a day. So my closing rate was only like 7%. I was terrible, but I made way more sales in the program than anybody else just because I went balls to the wall on ads. Back then I was booking calls for like $50. So I went balls to the wall on ads and I just like grind until I just made some sales. Right. But the problem was, so I'll get to the problem, but what really actually changed my life through that was all of these like older ladies in the program were like, I think they knew like this dude doesn't know how to run ads. Like this guy is not good. And they were like, I guess he's just good at sales. So they'd always do this like, you know, you're just really good at sales. And I became known as like a really good sales guy in this program. And so like, you know, I was bad at everything. So that was the first time in like trying to do anything entrepreneurial whatsoever that I was like, oh, like I found something I'm good at. So I started telling myself like, I'm good at this sales thing. And so then I had in the back of my head, I was like, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to make, cause the dude who sold me into the program, he had mentioned to me, he was making 30 grand a month selling me into the program.
Yeah.
And I was like, to me, that was like $1 billion. I was like, I was bartending. I was literally making $2,500 a month. That was it. Right. So I thought to myself, if this agency, that thing doesn't work out, like I'm going to go do that because that sounds way easier than learning 10 different skills at once. So anyways, I took on all these clients. And then what happened is I didn't know how to fulfill. So I outsourced everything to these agencies and I spent so much with doing that and the ad cost and like switching my offer and doing all this crazy stuff every 2 months that I basically just ran out of money. So like I succeeded in a way, but then still lost all my money. So I was like, I'm just going to get into sales. But obviously that really worked out. So in a weird way, it was like the most life-changing course correcting thing that helped me get my first sales job. Then I realized I was actually not good at sales, but that's a different story. And then, you know, the rest is history, right? I just kind of ended up here.
Yeah, it's a silver lining. I look back at my, you know, door-to-door sales days and the 2 years I didn't make any money. And then when I started making money, I was like, oh, like that's why it's working so well. Like so fast it felt like, right? Like I went like 0 to $1 million in a year with a freaking fitness offer. And I just was like, oh yeah, like I got super good because I was selling door to door for a year and like I did this. So, I mean, yeah, that's always like, you never know when you're in it though. You only know after. And that's what sucks is sometimes when you're in it, I wish you could know that like this will pay off. But I think that's what makes it so hard. So like, was that your lowest moment, you think? Or was like, did you have one even lower than that?
No, there was one point. I think the lowest is during that span of sending all those effing emails and not getting any responses, but being like so brainwashed into following the program that I was like, I just got to keep going. And I remember being so frustrated. I mean, I think I was almost like to tears over this. And I like remember like sitting in my room that I lived at bartending. It was like, we lived in a shack basically. I remember sitting in this room and being like, why can't I was like, there's something with me where like, I just can't be happy with like a regular job. Like, why am I like torturing myself with this? Like, why do I like have such, I was almost asking the question of like, why do I have such like a deep black hole inside of like trying to fill, you know, that I was trying to fill through money. Like I even knew it at the time and it only got like, you know, as you know, like that just that just gets worse.
Right.
But I remember being like, what the is wrong with me? But then I was like, I still have to figure this out. You know, I didn't give up. But I remember during that span, there was one time where I was like so frustrated. Like I just was like, and I had that mindset of like, I'm just going to figure this out or die trying.
Yeah.
Like this is what I'm going to do. And so I remember that moment, really well.
Yeah, I got to that point. I remember I basically said that, and then that's when things turned around. I said like, dude, I'd rather be homeless than be broke. And then that's just when like, I think I went way harder than I even like thought before. I thought I was working hard, but I think I wasn't working that hard. So I can resonate. Is for the listeners, it's funny because Cole's one of the smartest people I know. So like all the idiotic stuff he was doing, like there's hope for you.
Yeah.
There's hope for you. Okay. So when you, started closers, I remember like you had done sales for a few years. Like I even remember I was like, talking in Miami. You were like, yeah, I'm going to start this like thing. And you were kind of like iffy on it. I was like, bro, like just start it. And then I don't know if you thought, I don't know how big I thought it would get, but like, did you have any idea it would get as big as it did?
So the original goal, because I had 3 sales jobs, the first one was like that. So I'll even rewind and go through that since we went through the first half of the story.
Sure.
So the first sales job, I thought I was good at sales. I got on as the worst person on the team, and all the other reps all came from door to door. They were actually pretty good. Like looking back, we all probably could have been a lot better. Like we probably all weren't like that good, but high ticket sales was like new back then. So the only people who really knew, like Clients on Demand was kind of like the only person doing it, and TF had just started like when I started in sales. So I was like the worst, and I was like the worst for like 6 months, man. I sucked. And the only reason they kept me on the team is they were like, dude, this guy tries so hard. Like he's trying so hard. And so I didn't get fired. And then there was like a management change. And honestly, what actually really helped me is there was like a management change. And then since I didn't have any coaching, I started reaching out to like, actually the guy who was making all that money. Like he's making 30 grand a month, who inspired me to get into sales. So I reached out to him. I had him coach me. And then I started to get a lot better because since there was actually no management, I kind of like started testing a bunch of stuff and going through like books and programs and like figuring out, like I didn't have to follow like a rigid process as much. So then it was almost like overnight between that. The other thing that sounds so stupid, but like it's like 24. I just didn't know what was going on is I'd be out like drinking, like I would do like crazy stuff, like no bedtime, no set wake up time, no routine. And like, I'm not a big like routine person now, but I do think for salespeople, it does make a difference. Like getting up at a certain time, hitting the gym. But I remember like, I listened to this podcast and they were like, there was about a study that 50% or it was all these mentally ill people in the study. And all they had them do was just go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time for a month. And 50% of them went to no symptoms of mental illness whatsoever or something like that. I don't know if it's
kind of
50%.
funny to hear you do all this because picturing you now, like how I know you,
and the thing
like
is
the total opposite.
And the thing is like I was a 4.0 student too. It's just that, you know, I was young. You're a young guy, like your testosterone's high and you're just like, you've seen young guys like this, right? Where they're just like, you know, like, and there's like no critical thinking whatsoever. I mean, I could pass a biochemistry exam 100 out of 100. I mean, I could literally pass it, not go to a single class the entire semester, open the book the night before, pass the exam with 100. I was very good at that. But like my street smarts and like emotional intelligence was really bad. And actually, I don't think I'm a really natural like salesperson. I think I just like brute forced it because I was not good at all. I was quite bad. But yeah, I mean, as simple as that, it's like going to bed at the same time. And I remember thinking like, because the biggest issue I had is I'd have days where I'd hit like 2, and then I'd have like 3 days in a row I'd hit 0. Yeah. And then I'd have a day where I'd hit 1 or 2. Then another, like I just was, and I knew like, man, if I could just wake up feeling good every day. Well, lo and behold, if you just get a good night of sleep every day, it works out, and you don't drink the night before. And like,
that's crazy.
Just crazy stuff. Cause I was like I went from being a massive, you know, I talked about the black hole. I basically filled that with drugs and alcohol and bartending, which bartending is, if you're somebody who has a proclivity to doing drugs and alcohol, bartending is the worst position you could be in. You know, that's why people are like 50 bartending in Vegas, in Miami. It's like they never got out of the black hole. Yeah. So I went from that to an entrepreneur. Like it was so I had to make some major lifestyle modifications. So like when I actually got some of these basics down, like eat healthy, go to bed at the same, I started having, my energy was consistent. Then I got a little bit better sales coaching. Boom, went to the best person on the team. Then after that, it was like best person on the next team. Then I went to TNF and best person there. And then I left. So then when I left, I was really burned out. I had gotten into it with Taylor and all this stuff, and we made up since then. But, I was like pissed about that. I was burned out. And I was just like, man, if I could just make like 20K a month, just like coaching some people on sales, like that's way better than what I was doing. Cause even at the time too, like I was probably making 30 to 40 a month in sales, but there wasn't the opportunities there was, in my mind leaving, it was kind of hard to get back into it because I didn't know where else I was going to go. Like we were one of the biggest revenue companies at the time. There wasn't really any other opportunities to make more money.
Right.
I thought about gym launch at the time, but I looked into their comp structure. It wasn't that good. So I was like, I guess I just am going to coach some people. I think I know some stuff about this. I'll just coach some people. So my goal was 20K a month. And then, I was in Miami. I kind of like started mapping out the offer. Then right after Miami, went to San Diego and started mapping out the offer even more. Then I was like, okay, came back from that like 2-week trip. And then I was like, I'm going to launch. And so then I like did the Facebook organic and the group, and, back then groups worked. And then I was like, I think this is going to do more than 20K a month. The first day I just like launched it, booked a bunch of sales calls, did 72 grand.
No.
So then I was like, okay, I can definitely do like 100 grand a month.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, there's like something I can do here. And then I used that 72 in those clients. I didn't take on any clients the next month. I just built out all the program and then kept making content on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then I did this is like random, and it actually was stupid, but I was like, I'm going to do a no phone sales launch and just sell all through the DMs. And I did that in January of 2020 and did 271 all through the DMs. And then after that,
This was just for sales coaching at the time.
Yeah. So I went from the 72, I think it was 72. That was one-on-one sales coaching. It could be whatever. Then when I did the group one, I positioned it as like train your sales team type of thing. And I raised the price. And then I took the next month, March, I like sold a few people. I did like 50. And then in April, I think maybe it was the end of March or beginning of April, but it was basically the day everything shut down from COVID. So I was going to do another launch, and that was going to be the recruiting. But I remember launching it, and it was the day I was like, everything shut down for COVID. But I was like, I've been preparing for this launch forever. So I like launched it. And you could tell, like, when you've been posting on Facebook, like you can kind of tell how a post is going to do like pretty soon. And I remember like looking at it and like in an hour had like 1 like, and I was like, okay, I just got to delete that shit. Like I just had to take it down. So then I didn't do any launching. I just started making content. And then after people kind of stabilized for a month with the COVID stuff, then I did like 100 and then just 100 and beyond.
What made you kind of go from sales training to like building sales teams?
So it went from sales coaching and like, okay, like the issue with selling rep sales coaching, they have to like follow you for a while and like think you're good because every rep thinks they're good and thinks it's just the leads and all this stuff. So I kind of was like, that's not really a good offer. And I didn't know anybody at the time who was even doing it well. Jeremy does it well now, but he's really the only one who just does. Like he just trains reps.
Just sales train, right?
Yeah, just training reps.
For companies, like companies will sign up. And
it's mainly just, I think he mainly just does like in his main moneymaker is individual reps. Like they probably do company stuff too that comes through that, but it's mainly individual reps.
Really?
But nobody was doing that back then. And so I was like, okay, well, I can definitely train some sales teams. Obviously, business owners have more money. Let me do that. So I started doing that, and even as I started doing that, people would just be like, well, I need a sales rep. I mean, and then I started like, cause I had all the content going. I mean, I remember at one point getting like 5 DMs in a week of like, do you know where I can find good sales reps? So I was like, okay, like if I do a recruiting offer, it's going to slap. And I also had the idea because there was somebody else who was a competitor of mine at the time. And out of all the sales trainers in the market, like I was pretty at least organic in the organic sphere of Facebook. I was pretty aware of like all the other sales trainers and how they were doing and what their offers were and what they were doing. And the only one that had paid ads working was doing recruiting. But originally, like I had known that, but I didn't really like the model in which they were doing it. I thought it had some flaws. So I took kind of my sales team one and then I just bolted on recruiting and I made it way more expensive and way more like hands-on and stuff. And then I launched that in like, I think by the time I really got it going, it was like June. But I remember I made one post about it. And it was right when I moved here. And that posted like 171 grand. And it just said, read if you need setters. That was the post.
You didn't know anything about recruiting until this company, right?
Well, I mean,
you figured it all out. Like,
yeah, I didn't know. I didn't have any traditional recruiting background, right? But part of the issue with I mean, if you've ever hired a traditional recruiter to get you salespeople, it's usually not a good experience. Like recruiters are like HR people a lot of times. So they're just not good at identifying sales talent. I'm sure there's, some traditional recruiters that are, but most aren't very good. So I don't think that was really a necessary prerequisite anyways. My mindset was like, I had this, even when I launched the sales recruiting, I wasn't thinking it was even going to do $1 million a month. I was like, okay, I think this will do 200 grand a month. And then I'm going to launch a B2C and that'll do $1 million a month.
Really?
And so I started working on that at the same time because that was during COVID. And as you know, in COVID, it was like, if you had a B2C program, like people were going from like 200 grand a month to $1 million a month with no skill.
It was a joke.
Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. I'll launch a biz op type of become a sales rep thing. Cause I told Dan Locke do it, but obviously I didn't I didn't think he did a great job. And Sales Mentor had kind of done it. So I was like, okay, this obviously works. But I was like, let me do this recruiting thing first because it kind of just came to me and it had crazy demand. But the way I did it at first was I just had a bunch of people organically in a group and then I would just source them and talk to them myself. And I could tell who was a good salesperson, who's not a good salesperson, pair them up with companies and everybody was happy. So it was very easy in the beginning just because of the organic. And then eventually,
Yeah, so talk a little bit about that because you recruit at a very high level. I don't know how many reps you go through, but I mean, you guys recruit like crazy. So at a high level, you don't have to get into all the particulars if you don't want to, but it's like, how do you recruit so many reps to place with the client? So for example, like, hey, I do LinkedIn ads, I do Facebook ads,
Yeah.
we do cold outreach, we do cold email. Like,
so what I do is not what I'd recommend really. What I do and what a normal company should do for like an internal recruiting function, if they want to take that seriously, is two entirely separate things because what I do would be for any company just insanely overkill. But it comes through multiple channels. So the first channel is, we have 16 full-time recruiters right now, right?
That's all they do.
That's all they do. And so we have 60, and these aren't like from South Africa or something.
Like, these are like,
like these are all like US, Big Five based. Like we have to pay them, we pay them.
Most of them have prior experience or no?
We'll actually get into that in a second.
Okay.
That's a whole nother thing.
Okay.
So, but we have 16 full-time recruiters. So if you look at the ways we fill our quote unquote pipeline, there's outbound recruiting. So that's like getting on LinkedIn, finding people who are in roles that are competitive, and then basically making them a better offer to work for the client.
Right.
Mainly it's through LinkedIn. We can kind of do it through some like Facebook groups because there's some niche groups that are good. But like it's mainly through LinkedIn. So LinkedIn like outbound, let's say, is one. Another one is obviously inbound. So LinkedIn job, like we have so many different job posting companies and platforms we use. Indeed, I don't think we use Indeed. I think it's
Indeed
that good.
sucks. LinkedIn's the best.
LinkedIn Jobs is good, and then there's a bunch of ones we have to use for like international and Australia. Like I think we use a little bit of ZipRecruiter. Overall, though, quality is much better through outbound, as you would imagine.
Yeah, of course.
Inbound, you have to play a volume game. So what we have to do there is filter through having everybody look at the application, sort through 1-minute videos, then going through group interviews to even find a couple of candidates. So like, if you're going to do that yourself, you have to really take a higher volume approach and then filter stuff down through group interviews, which is a really good thing for sales reps. Then the third way that we get it is really just, there's a lot of word of mouth referrals, honestly, which is really nice. But honestly, it's been a compounding database. So like one nice thing about what we do is if you get placed through us, you get tons. You get 10 group. If you're a rep, you don't have to pay any money. You can get placed through us. If you have experience, it'll be good. But like for the people who do have experience in the high ticket industry and that are good, you get placed through us. There's 10 group coaching calls a week. All of my sales training that people pay money for, you get for free because you basically get it as part of. You get placed with a business that's working with us has already paid us. So obviously they're paying for your training. So you essentially get that for free. And then also like if, the business owner gets sued by the FTC, or the business owner, that's not very common, but it's happened.
Right.
If that happens, or if the business owner just goes under because, I don't know, they want to have a lifestyle business and travel, or their marketing doesn't work anymore, or whatever happens, like, you just come back to us and we just have tons of different offers, and you're like, oh, I want this type of offer. We're like, okay, well, here you go. So what happens is like reps come back we'll place a rep, 2 years later, they'll come back. And so this just compounds. So I think our database is like 300,000 now. And like, so now we have like even some of the outbound recruiters, they just go through the database. And so like there is a natural moat to it, because if I had to do this now, it'd be so expensive to start. Like there was a point when we started, I was spending $100,000 a month on just recruiting ads.
Yeah.
And the only reason I got away with that was because all of our sales were just organic. So like I was doing like $600,000 a month, spending $100 on recruiting ads, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I had like 8 employees, so it just worked. But over time, I just built this like compounding database. And then there's like my organic reputation that helps. And then
and they didn't.
People
these
refer all
reps
the time.
don't pay, so technically, it's like if you don't get them a job, it's like all good. It's not like they're paying.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like they reach out to look for a position.
RCA, like you still did not quote unquote guarantee a place.
Yeah. So RCA is a little bit different, right? So RCA was for either somebody who doesn't have experience in it, like maybe you have door to door experience, or like maybe you have insurance experience.
Okay.
So like it's going to be tougher, because if you're looking for high ticket closer for your agency offer or whatever it is, somebody who like used to sell insurance probably isn't going to be your first choice. But like through RCA, what we would do is help them actually like learn the industry, learn the ins and outs, what's a good offer, what's not a good offer, train them on sales, and then help them self-source a position. And then sometimes they would get placed through the pipeline. But even at RCA's peak, only 20% of our placements were even from RCA, and all of them are entry level setters. So like, because I mean, we got some really good setters through it for sure. And then obviously the other tier of RCA was people who had no experience at all and then getting into it and whatever. But we can't just take somebody with no experience, used to be a waitress, and then all of a sudden just be like, okay, client, you paid us a bunch of money.
Of course.
Here you go. They're going to be like, this person has no experience.
Yeah.
So most of our stuff has always come through the recruiters, or the recruiting team. Now, to answer your question about do we hire recruiters or who we hire, we went through multiple phases. At first, we didn't know, we would just hire anybody who had a pulse.
Right.
That didn't work. But we did figure out this helped us figure out the processes, et cetera. Then we were like, okay, let's hire recruiters with actual recruiting experience. So actually, no. Then what we did is we hired people who like had industry high ticket experience and maybe a little sales experience.
Right.
That worked kind of well. But then we switched and we were like, no, we need actual recruiters who come from like actual recruiting companies who understand recruiting and outbound and all these things. Then we brought them in. Now, what happened there is that we internalized all of our outbound, like all the outbound processes we have now about how to do outbound poaching and all that stuff. That came from that suite of people we had at a certain place in time that came from the traditional recruiting companies. So that was valuable. But the issue with traditional recruiters is like they don't grind. You want people who like really have almost a salesperson's mentality. Like they're like hitting projections and KPIs. If you come from like corporate America, HR departments, they're not really like that, So then now we're back to, it's a little bit of a mix. We have some traditional recruiters and some salespeople, but like now we really like, if we have the choice, like we'll take somebody who has been in sales for a little bit. They don't have to be the best salesperson, but like they've been in sales, they understand it. They know who's like a good salesperson versus not a good salesperson. They understand the industry and they can just source really
good. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It just, when I think of recruiting, I think it's like they have to be willing to grind, aka do outbound, and then they just have to like have some good messaging and like know who's good. Like it doesn't seem super complex, but it does seem like it's going to be a lot of sifting, a lot of looking, like that type of thing, right?
Yeah, it's that. And I mean, honestly, if you're a good salesperson, you'll be a good recruiter, but obviously sales makes more than recruiting.
Right.
So it's good for like, like maybe you could be a really good setter. And then you're like, I'm not good enough to be a closer, but I want something that's $100,000 a year salary. That could be a really good fit because they get who a good closer is,
maybe,
and they can grind. Or we've had that before, where people are like, I'm tired of starting over a zero every month. I just had a kid. I want a salary. Like that works really well. But you have to be able to put in the work. And I mean, what are you doing? Like you're essentially outbounding through LinkedIn. You're getting people on the phone. You're doing discovery. You're persuading them and selling them on a different position, and then really selling them on why that's going to be the best thing for them and what have you. And then also communicating with the client at the same time to really sell the candidates so that, and also set it's really not selling the candidates to the client, but a lot of times you have to set the right expectations to the client. So for instance, if you're a fitness coach who's doing 30 grand a month and you want a high ticket closer with $4 million lifetime closed revenue, it's not going to happen, right? Like,
it's just small.
It's not like that person. It's like, I always say this, I don't have any issues with putting you in front of somebody like that. The issue is they're not going to want to work for you.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So like, we have to improve your business so they want to work for you.
Right.
But that might mean you have to hire a B tier closer to get to 100, 150 and grind a little bit harder and put in more work in training them. But then once you have like a good offer, the good closers will like find it.
Of course.
You know?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, has that ever been like a nightmare just dealing with two parties? You know, you're finding the close. I mean, the first finding good closers and then dealing with the like, you know, the drama queen business owners who are like, you know, I do 15K a month. Like I'm a freaking 9 out of 10, you know?
Yeah. So yes, it is a nightmare. But every business has a nightmare. Right. So you just got to pick your, you know, like Mark Manson says, you got to pick the sandwich you want to eat. So like when I was doing 150, 200 grand a month with recruiting, I always said, this is all it's ever going to be. Like, this is too hard to scale. It's done for you. It won't scale. I'm going to do this B2C thing instead. Then we got to 500 grand a month and I said the same thing. Even we got to $1 million a month, I still said, even at that point, I was like, wow, I can't believe this scaled so far. There's no way this will continue to scale because it's done for you, you know? And then I think I don't know if it was 1.5 or 2. Once I broke past that, I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess it could just scale as long as I can hire good people and train them. Yeah. And that's really been true. And then also like when you think about it, there's 9-figure and 10-figure recruiting companies. Robert Half does like multi billions a year. And if you look at if you want to know the difference of what they do versus me, it's very simple. If you look at the average recruiting company doing $100 to $200 million a year, and you look at the amount of active clients that they have, it's probably 200 to 400.
Yeah.
I have 800 active clients.
Right.
That's the problem. I'm doing 30 million a year with our done for you.
It's just because you have smaller clients, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, not all of them. Some of our clients are
They don't recruit
figure.
the same way either, though. I think like because you get your fee up front. Like some recruiting companies, they bring you the person you pay.
Well, so that's more of executive search.
Right.
So, but executive search is for executives, right? So you need a CTO, a CEO, whatever. Like, there's not a lot of like executive search firms. A lot of times don't do sales recruiting.
Right.
So basically executive search is one branch. Another branch that is actually a higher valuation, better business model, a lot of recruiters are shifting to is what's called RPO. So recruiting process outsourcing. So that's basically where like we don't really, we kind of do this, but really RPO is like at a mid-market plus / enterprise level. So where imagine you're somebody to where you have 100 sales reps. Your churn might be 5%. That's actually good, but that means you need 5 good sales reps every single month just to keep your business the same. If you want to grow your business, you might need 15 new actual like hires a month, not even candidates, hires. So a lot of times for a company like that, let's say we worked with one of the biggest private equity roofing roll-ups. They're like north of 100 million and they have so much volume need. They have an internal recruiting team, but the internal recruiting team is also hiring tech. Like the field techs and like the actual tech department. They're hiring for marketing. And so like that sales grind is just a lot on them. So like RPO is basically, you're basically embedding, our staff kind of fractionally into their company and then doing a recurring contract that or a retainer based contract based on the number of hires.
Yeah.
So this kind of brings me to a different topic, but my plan on really how to, cause it's a unit economics problem, right? All these companies who are doing 9 figures plus have less clients than me. So there you go. That's the issue. So one of the things I'm working on, it's going to launch in Q4, is we already have about 10 enterprise clients. We had them over the years. As you know, like clients who make a lot of money and are big clients and super professional, they don't take bullshit. But if you do a good job, they're much easier to work for. Yeah. Like you can't do they say it's like they're easy to work with. Well, they are if you do a good job. Yeah. If you do a bad job, you're done. Yeah. But the nice thing is like if you're doing 100 million and you're in this industry or whatever, everybody, like if you're in roofing, if you're doing 100 mil, people will know who you are.
Yeah.
If we outbound reps that are from a 30 million company who kind of doesn't have their shit together, they will leave to go to that company. So the recruiting actually becomes much easier, but you do got to be on point, and like each batch has got to be really good.
Yeah, of course.
So I really plan on how to actually get to 100 mil is by getting, 250, 300 of mid-market type plus RPO.
How are you going to get the?
Well, honestly, I think we could do it through ads because
Really? You think those companies will click on it?
well, I don't know. I mean, but here's my thing, and you'll resonate with this.
Yeah.
If I can solve a lead generation problem with ads, I'm gonna solve it with ads. Like,
Well, yeah, it's easier.
so I'm gonna try that first. If not, it's gonna be a traditional account-based marketing approach that's like multi-channel, but that's gonna be like a whole function I have to build out. If I can make it work with ads, I can make it work. And the thing is, too, is I'm gonna look at it much differently because I can pay $10,000 to acquire a customer.
A lot.
So like, I only got to get like one a month, And the thing is if I go very broad with it, because here's the thing, when we work with smaller businesses, I have to keep it to coaches, consultants, and agencies and like high ticket people, because like if it's your first rep, I also have to teach you how to like build your sales team for the first time. And like, hey, I got to maybe fix your marketing a little bit. I got to maybe fix your offer a little bit. So that's why like I don't work with roofers doing $1 million a year, because like I can't work with them on like, okay, dude, like here's how you hire your first rep. No, you're training them the entirely wrong way. I don't know roofing sales. Like I'm sure I could figure it out, but it's just not baked into my processes. I don't know how to tell a roofer how to remove themselves from the field by hiring the right techs. But if you're a roofing company doing 100 mil, you already have all that stuff figured out. You just need the X's and the O's of maybe some basic sales consulting. And then obviously you need the bodies. You need the recruiting. So the thing is if the companies are 50 million plus and they have a certain amount of hiring needs that are ongoing each month, we can basically do any industry because it's all kind of the same. Like you're essentially working with a reputable company.
I mean, finding the good reps is easy because they're big.
Yes.
Right.
So you're working with a reputable company and then you're finding reps that are unsatisfied with the position, but they have the talent, have the track record, you want to work for them. So it makes a lot of sense in that way. And
it's pressure off you guys of having to make sure they're trained per se. It's like you just find the bodies and it's like you throw them at them and it works because they're a big company and they have the training.
Yeah, and they have good onboarding and all that. Yeah. But the reps do got to be good. Like
yeah,
again,
of course. Yeah, I mean,
it's like these companies won't take bad reps. Like you got to they're easy to work with if you do a really good job.
Yeah.
So that brings me all back to the reason I'm going to do ads is because I can keep it broad like that. I think that even if the lead cost is $1,000 an appointment or something like that, I think the numbers will still pan out. And we did
well, especially if you get them on a retainer, dude.
Like, exactly.
You can start thinking in 12 months, it's like, hey, in 12 months, I'll make 60 G's so I can spend 20 grand to get to the client. Like, if they stay for 3 years or something.
Exactly. And the other thing too, that's nice about running ads is you can do basically, the reverse data thing. There's a name for it, but basically where if they hit the landing page, you can set up one of those softwares that pulls their, all of their contact information and their company name and basically builds a cold email list and an outbound list. So I would like to try to get to work through ads and then build the outbound function off the reverse engineered remarketing list, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
I forget what there's a name for that whole process. And there's softwares that do it too, but I'm sure you've heard it.
Yeah, there's like, the one I use I liked a lot. I forget the name right now. Seamless. I like that one.
Seamless.ai is good.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
There's probably other ones that are better, but I did like that one a lot. So basically with closers, I mean, it sounds like the goal is like to continue to build it and sell it. And like, it sounds like you're trying to go for the 100 mil and then sell it. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, like, I don't know what my exit plans would be. What I lean more towards is, so the way I look at things now is my long-term vision is like, I want to tackle this enterprise thing. And if that takes me 5 years, great. If it does, if it takes me a year,
just
great.
Like getting those.
But that for me, that is like I know a lot of people in our industry, they kind of have this like, okay, I did this industry, I hit 8 figures, but I want like a real challenge.
Right.
And I had that for a long time. That's why I started the whole medical thing and I scaled that. And then that's a whole different story of scaling that from 50 to 3 million a month and then leaving that. So I've always kind of wanted this, like what felt like a more material, bigger business success. And for me, like the enterprise thing, I think is that for me. Like if I think of what any, like, you take any really talented entrepreneur who's in tech or whatever that you see out there. Like, I think if you dropped them in my business, the number one thing they would do is go up market and just do that. And if I could just double down on what I'm doing, but then create it into something that is 9 figures and it can be something big, that's what I want to do. If that takes a year, great. If it takes 5 years, great. The nice thing in my situation and why I'm committed to doing that, especially opposed to maybe trying to do something else or start a software from scratch or start, I've thought about doing certain brick and mortar chains from scratch. The reason I'm not going to pursue that is like, I already do make really good profits with my business now.
Right.
So it's like, I can continue to get paid a lot for basically pursuing this bigger thing that can take it to 9 figures and beyond. In terms of exit, I don't know. What I lean more towards is doing something that's like a bank financed ESOP, which is basically where you sell a portion of the company to the employees. It has to be above 30 or 40%. And then essentially you get a valuation. It's not going to be as high as a private equity valuation, but it's maybe like 20 to 30% lower. It's underwritten by a bank. And then the bank loans you the money, the shares, and then the shares go into a trust. And then they're essentially distributed back to the employees, and then the employees are distributed the profits, but they have to pay off the loan before accessing the profits. But once the loan gets more and more paid off, I believe it's if you hit, you got to at least sell 30 or 40%. But the employees actually earn the income from the business, then tax free. So,
what's the benefit of you doing that? Is it just like because
the benefit is I would retain control.
Okay.
I would retain, so like, let's say I grew it to even just like, I think by the end of next year, I think next year I could easily do 45 to 50 with how things are going.
Yeah.
So let's say, in a couple of years I do 60. Let's just say I get to there.
Okay.
Well, if I sold 49% in the bank finance ESOP, even though my valuation's not going to be, I'm not going to leave. So number one, like that's going to help my valuation because I'm going to stay. So even just taking 50% of chips off the table, that's a life-changing amount of income for me. You're set for life.
Yeah.
Also, if you think about it and you run the math, essentially, and I've actually done this, it's like if I get a certain valuation from doing that, even with half the chips off the table, and then just invest that into, let's say, the S&P 500,
Right, of course.
that actually will out-earn over time what I would make if I just kept it. Because like the lump sum is so big that the interest starts to actually be more than your like monthly income you're getting from your business, right? I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. But like, I guess my question is like, what do you must feel confident that employees will take that, because like if they don't take it, then it's not even an option, right? Like you have to.
I would think they were. And the way our business works, it's a very account management based business.
Uh-huh.
So like, it would be probably for certain higher level people in certain positions, the account managers who are working and nurturing the clients, and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, part of the incentive is it gives the employees ownership of the company long term so that you can stay. Cause the hardest thing that hits any business is like when you have a bunch of key people leave. Yeah. So having the longevity, like we've had people for 5 years, it just helps so much.
Oh yeah, they get it.
They get it. Yeah. And then I think just having ownership of it. And plus to me, like, I think that sets the company up for the best chance to be successful. I can still be operating in it. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the goal.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay. So in terms of like, I know you have a couple of portfolio companies. I don't think that's like a huge thing for you though. It's just like if you have something good come across the table, right?
Yeah. It's just private investments. So I have SalesKick and Dialer.io. Those are the only ones that I'm like, I would say I'm a minority owner and minimally involved, right? So I'm not operationally involved, but like I'll be in the ads.
Just strategic.
Yeah, I'll help with the funnel.
Yeah.
And I have no issues with like, I think even just running the ads and number one, like me being in the ad will help the company.
Right.
And then number two, I think it helps my brand. So it's a kind of a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and you probably experience this with clients and other people, but if the product is good in software, it is the craziest, easiest thing to sell.
Yeah, because
like I've had clients that it's like,
you don't have to advertise it.
You don't even have a sales process. Like you're not even selling, you're just taking orders.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean the sales guys for SaaS, it's a joke. It's like you got to cap it because I'm like, bro, you're just taking an order. It's not even a sales call. It's like they're just ready to buy.
Yeah.
And it's like usually if it's like 30-day trial or something, it's like they're gonna say yes, like obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I have those two, and then I just have other private, but those are the only two minority active investments I have.
Where do you invest most of your money? So like if someone was like, what's your personal investment strategy? Is like, I just throw it all in the S&P. Do I put it mostly into companies? Do you do venture capital? Do you do multiple things? Like,
Yeah, I'll read it too.
okay.
So it's I just redid this allocation. So I do 40% securities.
Okay.
And then out of that 40% securities, what I do is 70% just the S&P 500. I do 15% emerging markets and 15% international.
Okay.
Then what I do is 10% private equity, 10% private real estate. That doesn't count my house. So I take my house out of my allocation.
Okay.
I do 15% like bonds / like money market
Safe
fund.
stuff. Okay.
That's just like dry powder,
Right.
kind of like
Yeah.
liquidity. 7% infrastructure funds, so like road building, stuff like that, like city planning.
Okay.
7% crypto, 5% energy funds, 4% farmland, 2% gold. So
How'd you come up with that? I mean, like that was very
a lot of research. So
Okay.
a couple things is like I actually so I've lost a lot of money investing. So I don't even know if this is the right strategy. Okay. But what I will say is I'm much more confident in this than I have been in what I've been doing in the past. So let me tell you a few things I did stupid in the past.
Yeah.
Stupid crypto stuff. I wasn't as bad as most people, but you know, I had my fair share of dumb stuff. The main thing I did that was idiotic was I bought 50 single family homes during the peak of my business too. Like, what are you thinking? And I'm like,
oh my God.
and I'm like, yeah, I'm building passive income. And then in the meantime, I'm like getting like a 1,200, like I'm like getting like $5,000 a month from all these homes because each check's like $100.
Yeah, that's the joke.
And then like some dude's like toilet breaks and it's like $5,000. It's like, I just was like, these are just money bonfires. Just money bonfires. And then I was like, okay, well, I can't do this Section 8 stuff. So I got to do luxury Airbnb. I bought that right at the peak of Airbnb. So like Airbnb went down, interest rates went up, you know, so that was all lost money on all, like I got killed. The little ones, I didn't really get, I mean, I got killed on them, but you know, you can buy a lot of really crappy homes for not that much money.
Yeah.
Well, if you use debt, man, like some of these luxury ones, the one you recommended was the only one I actually made money on when I sold it.
No way.
But, 2 I bought in Branson, I lost everything. And 1 I bought in Scottsdale, I lost like $400,000, $500,000.
The thing I don't like about them is like, it's just like, I think it's for poor people, meaning like, even if you make $2,000 a month, it's like for you and me, I'm just like, who gives a shit? Like, I just don't care. And then there's so much management fees, upkeep.
And the thing that people don't realize is, especially with those, if you have one repair, it can wipe out your returns for the entire year.
So
And we have people who just wouldn't leave. And then like we'd evict them and then we'd like go back and then there'd be somebody else living in there, just some hobos. I mean, it was like, it was crazy. So anyways, don't do that. So anyways, so I kind of went through a phase after that where I was like, okay, I read The Simple Path to Wealth. It's a really good book. And I was like, S&P 500. But obviously and the thing is, it is important to understand the point of diversification. Like you can see I'm like, pretty diversified.
I mean,
right?
like,
but the point of diversified, like I'm not looking at my 10% private equity or private real estate allocations and trying to beat the S&P 500 with that. A lot of people, that's how they look at it. I'm not doing that. I'm just trying to get a comparable return that's uncorrelated. Pretty much if you look at most asset classes. Now, this is different. If you're a really good syndicator and like you're doing real estate, for sure, you can beat the S&P 500, but that's your full-time active income. I'm talking about like passive LPs here and guys who also like me who I probably have like marginally okay deal flow, like not that great. Like I'm not like some high finance guy. I also don't know how to underwrite these deals. Like I'm just like taking this guy's word for it. So most often, and if you look at the averages in private real estate, private equity, I mean, crypto is an exception, but obviously it's a little bit more risky. All of these other ones, they don't really beat the S&P 500. Like you could put 100% in there. And if it does what it did for the last 100 years, that's probably the best thing you could do, especially because of the simplification and just not making any mistakes.
Right.
Because the other thing too is you could put 100K into 10 different real estate deals. You only have to do it with one idiot. So basically, and lose 100%,
right.
I would know,
right.
to wipe out the returns from all of them.
Right.
Because I mean, that's what I did. I've done a lot of private real estate with syndications and most of them are good. The issue is like 2 of them combined, I lost like $400,000. So I don't care how well the rest of these are, I'm screwed, right? So now what I do is, so the reason I don't go the full S&P 500 is, number one, I mean, right now it's at like an absolute all-time high. It's also extremely heavy with the Mag 7. So it's basically, as you know, it's like the top 7 companies, I think, do more returns, or like they have much, much higher returns than the other 493. So that's the other issue. And then those top 7 companies, it's all AI investment, which is not really tied to any value creation right now. That's driving all of that growth. So if you took out all AI, like infrastructure investment into the stock market this year, the stock market would be in a recession.
Yeah.
So I'm not like going to stop investing in the S&P. There's some obvious risks there. We're probably going to have a bad correction at one point. So that's why I want to have this diversification. With the diversified assets, what you want to do is you want to find index-like opportunities. So for instance, the way I do private equity, I'm not an LP with a 10-year lockup in one private equity fund that I had to invest 500 grand into. That'd be insane. I invest in a platform that's basically a fund of funds that takes GP stakes in like 100 or even like 1,000 different private equity firms. So I'm essentially diversified between all of those. And obviously all of that's like different niches of private equity funds and this and that. And what's also nice about that is after like a year or 2 years, there's a lockup, but that lockup goes away, and then you can redeem quarterly like any hedge fund. And so like immediately you put it in, you start getting some distributions and getting good returns. So I do that with all like I don't know anything about infrastructure, but if I find good fund to fund platforms, like that's how I'm going to do it. Same thing with farmland. Like I'm not going to buy a farm, but if I can find like a platform that's like a fund to funds, that's how I do that. So everything is, I want it as much index-like as possible. And then I just try to like discorrelate the assets a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think the way you run a business, business is inherently risky. So investing, I like try to do the opposite. Something, I've done recently, I have to see if it pays off. But I met, someone through a mutual friend who basically they invest in pre-IPO deals. It seems interesting. I'll have to see if it plays out. But basically the premise on average, let's just take an average deal. Let's say they take a really good company like Scale.ai. Okay. I actually invested in this one. Scale.ai. It's like, hey, we think they're going to go IPO. You can get in. It's like, you have to know someone to get in. It's not like public at all. You get in, let's say when they IPO, or the shares right now, let's say are valued at, let's say $20 a pop. And then when it IPOs, almost every IPO shares go through the roof and then you sell. That's the premise, right? So the interesting thought to me, and again, I can't prove this, I'll have to see if they pay out, but I'm just thinking, okay, like it's already a good company. It's going to IPO at some point. So I don't really, and then if it doesn't IPO, they'll move the money to a different deal. So again, it's just interesting. But in my head, out of all the deals I've done so far, all the stuff I've researched, etc., we'll have to see. But it seems like the biggest upside in the shortest amount of time, which, obviously makes me think like it's too good to be true type thing. But so far, like on paper, just like looking at it, I'm just like, bro, that seems like the best thing I've found so far. Have you heard any of those deals?
No, I haven't. I mean, so the issue with the reason that wouldn't fit in my portfolio is like the minimum is probably 250 grand or something like that.
Yeah, it's a big number.
Right.
Well, like for most
so like if I could somehow do 250 grand and get access to a fund that's going to manage all this stuff for me, and it's going to basically do pre-IPO deals across 100 different things, I would do that. But the thing is like you could have 5. This is the issue that I have with real estate.
Yeah.
You could have 5 go really well. Then I think like Coinbase was a bad one. I know Figma had like some crazy IPO that was horrible or something like that. I don't know. I'm not like super into that world. You could have one bad one and then you're screwed,
Interesting.
And if you lose on one deal, it's hard. You're almost not even beating the S&P 500.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting take. It's weird the way I've invested, I would say, is like it's the most aggressive I think you can be while still feeling like safe. Like, for example, like you said, you could invest in a real estate deal, it goes to shit, but like the deals I'm invested in, I'm like, I feel pretty good. Like I'm like pretty confident like it wouldn't go south. And then the goal after that is once I get to a certain number, I'm like, okay, I'll just put in like index funds, get 3% a year. That's kind of like been my strategy. Yeah. Nothing bad's happened yet, but it's also like when you invest, you got to wait a second to kind of
you never know. It's very difficult. I mean, I've lost so much money.
But yeah, it makes sense what you're doing too, because like I remember even some of your stories. You're just like, yeah, bro, like I lost like I'm like
I know. Yeah, I lost a lot. I mean, the nice thing is since I've had this strategy, it's just like you're investing in big institutions.
Yeah.
And so like there's so many deals that even like the nice thing about like the real estate platforms too is like multifamily and commercial is really bad, but there's other sectors that might not be bad. And there's other operators that are really good. And the other thing about these platforms too is that they have, because they have so much capital, they have access to deals that like, you know, this guy's probably never going to get in his lifetime. So for instance, like Vista Private Equity, which is, I forget, Robert, somebody, but like he's one of the, wealthiest people in the country. Like, dude, I'm never going to be able to invest in Vista. Like, that's not going to happen. But that platform has an allocation in Vista. So because they have, because I mean, it's kind of sad, but like even, I mean, consumers have very little options, but even when you're like 8-figure net worth or multiple 8 figures net worth, you have more options as an accredited investor or whatever, but like you don't have like the real opportunities are people who are like in high finance, who have like hundreds of millions of dollars. And they get into these private deals because of the reputation and whatever. So obviously I don't have access to that. So it's like, this is kind of the next best thing.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see how it goes and what you say in a couple of years. So, recently you got newly engaged. Like, how's that been? Like,
it's been good.
Yeah. Like, I mean, well, I shouldn't say what led to that. I mean, you guys have been dating a while, but I mean, how does it feel? Like going from single Cole to like engaged Cole, like seeing that whole life. Like, I don't know if you guys are planning on kids yet and stuff like that.
Yeah. We'll probably have kids in the next couple of years. I mean, it's great. Like, I mean, you, like many people say, it's like when it actually happens, you kind of settle in and you're like, okay, like this is what I'm doing. And it's not that like you're thinking about other options or anything, but it's like, it is a commitment, right? So you really have that commitment. But for me, it wasn't, I mean, we had talked about it already so much and I already knew a year and a half before it happened, probably, if not longer, that I was going to do it. It's just a matter of time. So like in my brain, it already had happened, you know? So it's great, you know?
What's it you, like, what was the year and a half for? Like, if you knew for a year and a half, I mean, some people are like, bro, like, why?
Yeah, it's a good question. I just, you know, maybe there's no good reason for this. But I felt like, what would it have been? We dated for 2.5 years. So I think like, maybe it wasn't a year and a half. Maybe it was a year. But I thought 2.5 years was a good number. The other thing that I wanted to do is like, it kind of is something you sort of gradually, you know, you don't just jump there. It's like you move there, right? So at first it was like, we were in my apartment and, you know, it's like she comes over on the weekends, right? And then you know, she comes over more than just the weekends. Then she was living in my apartment. Then I bought the house, right? So then we're living in the house and it's like, how do we like living together in an actual house?
Right.
Cause that's like more of a joint decision of like, okay, like how are we going to set up this room and that room instead of like her just coming into my world. So that was one nice thing that really brought us closer together was like when we built that, like when I had the apartment, like I had that before her, right? So it's like she kind of comes into my world, whereas when we get the house, it's like we're creating our own world. So then there's kind of like some of the growth that comes along with that. And then it would have been like 5 months after the house is when I proposed. So yeah, this is kind of, I felt like that was a nice gradual progression of it.
Yeah, I mean, I like her a lot, so I can't say that for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any non-negotiables? Like, you may not, but is it just like, I have to do this, I must do this, this is like something I always do, something that just keeps you sharp, because people are always interested, like, you know, high-level people, like, what do you do that's so high level?
I mean, a big one is I go to bed at 8.
It's true, guys. This podcast was very hard to schedule because
Yeah. It's like, so one is I go to bed at 8. The other one is like, I don't do any meetings and from usually 9 to like 3:30. So, except on Monday, Monday I do like 16 meetings. Right. So it's kind of like the Hormozy schedule in a way, but I like to be on our sales meetings, even though I don't have to be. It's what I do, you know? So I like to be there.
Yeah.
And, so that's my only morning meeting most times, or maybe I'll sneak in one right afterwards. But that's like my deep work. That's where I'm moving the business forward. Right. So like, that's also why like, if I schedule a podcast midday, dude, I'm cooked.
I'm
cooked.
Yeah, it's not, yeah.
So there's that. Working out. I know you're the same way. I mean, I'm 5-6 days a week. I just like going, honestly. It's just like, I'll just go and do like light stuff, even if I don't have like a main workout to do. Oh, what else? I don't eat, I try not to eat 2 hours before bed, try to get good sleep. Go to bed at the same time, wake up. The sleep thing is huge. Like that's a big one. I think those are the main things.
Yeah, it sounds mostly like just more of a routine.
Yeah.
Structure.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to end with is what I call a lightning round. It's just 5 different questions, and you can go as adept as you want. If you don't know how to answer it, you can say skip it or pass. So first one is most powerful sales insight you've ever learned.
Well, I'll give you the goofy one. Go to bed at the same time every night, wake up at the same time every day. But I would say the other one that's like more of a sales tactic is that every single, I learned this from direct response, is there's basically 2 sales that you have to make on every single sale. Is the sale on the idea and then the sale on the product. But 80% is really selling you on the idea. So like, for instance, if I'm working with somebody who's an in-person personal trainer and you're selling them to go online, really the sales conversation is not about like our product. It's about like the idea of why going online is the best, most effective, blah, blah, blah way to achieve all the desires that they have, right? And it's really connecting those things. It's the same reason why like after, and one of the first places I heard it is when Russell Brunson sold at the time it was like a record. He sold like 10 million or 5 million or whatever off the 10x growth stage. The whole presentation, 80% of it wasn't about ClickFunnels. I mean, granted, it was demoing ClickFunnels, but it really wasn't about that. It was about selling them on the idea that funnels was the most effective way to bring customers online. Something a lot of sales trainers don't talk about. But if you can really, no matter what you're selling, that's always there. If you can sell somebody on the thesis, getting them to buy the product is like
easy.
It's very, very easy. A different way to think about it is like you want to sell them on a new way of thinking on almost every single sale, right? And this is why other books like what great salespeople do and the Challenger sale and like they all kind of say this without saying it directly, but that's a big one for sure.
What's the best ROI investment you've made that's under 10 grand?
It's under 10 grand. I would say one of the best ones, I mean, it's kind of cliche, but like a house manager / cleaner, I mean, when I first had that, so true story, when I was building the company, I moved into my apartment and I didn't even unpack for like 45 days. And when I say I didn't unpack, I mean like I put my bed on the ground and then I put out a table to put my laptop on. That was my degree of unpacking. And I had a bowl and a spoon. That was it. And so my house manager, because it's kind of funny, like, dude, can you really not unpack? Like, what's going on? But like any moment of time I had energy, I was like, I have to work.
Yeah.
So like I was just like, I have to work. It's kind of like a little young guy way of thinking. But at the same time, when I got my house manager, everything, it's like all these other things were taken care of, and I could just focus on like what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's weird. I just look at it as such a low ROI of time. I'm like, bro, it's like it's such a waste of my time to even unpack this. As dumb as that sounds, it's like after a busy day and I'm working and I'm tired, I was like, bro, it's such a low ROI.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'd be better off just resting than unpacking.
Yeah, well, that's how it is too. Like, it's like I did have free time, but if I work from like 6 to 6, I mean, dude, at 6, I'm like cooked.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. It's like, you're like, I can't even see. Like, it's like I gotta lay down. Like I just have to lay down and watch TV.
Yeah. What's a book that flipped your thinking or you learned a lot from?
Well, my favorite business book is Ready, Fire, Aim. That's a really, really good business book. What else is really good? I mean, Hormozi's books are really, really good. Ready, Fire, Aim is like, if you read that, you'll be like, oh wow, like a lot of stuff comes from that book. I think that's a good one we can go with.
I mean, I like that book a lot. I mean, I think the guy who wrote it, they built
1.5 billion, yeah.
Right. And it's like, but it makes sense because I'm reading the book and I'm like, wow, these like email newsletters and stuff. Obviously, Agora is like, I didn't even know it was like affiliated, but that book is really good because it kind of, I don't think it's as simple maybe as the book says, like any book, but it's like, it lays it out in a way where it's like, oh, wow, like that's what I needed to get to the next level. I liked it a lot.
It's very good.
Okay. Last one. You may not have one on this, but one belief you've changed your mind on this year.
I don't know if this is the first thing that came to mind, but it's not that interesting. I was telling you the other day, I mean, I used to just believe that I had to get up and work out in the morning to be like cognitively there, but I've been crushing like 3-hour work sessions right when I wake up. So that's one. I'm trying to think of something that's a little bit more like profound. I don't know. I guess we're going with that.
No, that's good. I mean, that's good. It's like, I mean, sometimes I think there may not be something big, you know, like you could go years before you like have an epiphany about something that you really want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is I really this year stopped thinking about, it's kind of like when you get married. It's like I got married to my business again. You know, it's like I stopped thinking about, I was constantly thinking about this opportunity. Oh, this would scale to 100 million. This is a better opportunity vehicle. And then I was kind of like, you know what, dude, all this shit's going to be hard. Like, let me just pick this enterprise thing.
Yeah.
It's what I'm already doing. And it's kind of, I mean, it is relieving to just do that.
I think the biggest thing with your company is I think like, can it scale up? Can you go to bigger type companies? I think, maybe you could say that in consulting, I guess. Like you do have like McKinney and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's like, at least the way I look at it is like the business I built specifically was kind of like more built for like smaller business owners.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not really built for like Fortune 500. I think yours could be.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like there is recruiting at a super high level. So I think that thought process makes sense. For people that want to find you, work with you, your company, find out more about you, where's the best place to go?
At Cole Thomas Gordon on Instagram, Cole Gordon on YouTube, closures.io.
Dope. Dude, thanks for coming on, and I can't wait to see you at 100 mil.
All right, man.
All right.